item 15
Move 15.
is the land exchange regress. Okay, moved
Second.
Councillor Darby, seconded Councillor Hills.
Could I just declare my interest as a
Indeed.
director on the board?
Thank you, Member
of the
Blair.
parent company?
Noted. I think there might
But
just...
appreciate everyone's support.
But
That's all right.
I'm going to vote for this.
Yeah. Councillor Darby, did you want to speak to this?
Yeah, just briefly. Members, if you look at the map here, I know we're pressed for time, but if you look at page 241, you'll see something that I think has occurred for the first time in the regeneration of Auckland. Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, their development arm, Whairawa, has actually looked at this land that they've it's been transferred through treaty settlement. And what they have done is they haven't just inherited the road network and gone, oh yeah, we can shoehorn some houses around that. They've actually taken a really long view and said the road is all wrong, and it doesn't allow us to connect to the coastal edge, it doesn't allow permeability, and it doesn't allow good development. And so they've actually uplifted that road entirely. They will remove it and they will put in a new road network, which is the first time I believe this has happened at this scale in Auckland. It might happen to some little cul-de-sac somewhere, but this is actually a big parcel of land. Why I'm mentioning this, Madam Chair, is there's an unresolved problem here. And it's not exactly, I'm taking some liberty on the item, it's not exactly related to the reserves transfer, which is a very good outcome, but the hapu is being asked for a bond of $5 million from the time the road is uplifted to the time the new road is back in place. And that places a significant constraint on the development of this land. I'm mentioning it now and I'll stop there because it's not the item per se, but Mr. Kimpton, I think this does need to be addressed because we're not dealing with a developer that's a limited liability company that is likely to be gone with the next property crash. They are a hapu that has been here for hundreds of years and they will be here for hundreds of years. And so my plea at this meeting is for this issue to be resolved through the lens of dealing with an iwi group, not a corporation. Because at the moment it's being treated, they're being treated as a corporation. I know this issue we're going to have to be discussing in many other forums in the future as we regenerate Auckland. I'm wondering if I could just park this for further consideration that Mr. Kimpton and the executive leadership team might be able to give this to try and resolve this because it's in the way of the development at the moment.
So to take that on board, and it's a delegated authority with Auckland Transport at this stage. So look, we can certainly take that up with them, and there are other instances that I'm aware of where we have to work through similar circumstances. But points noted, and happy to take that up on behalf of this group.
Thank you, Mr. Kimpton.
Thank you, Councillor Darby. Right.
Sorry, Madam Chair. Could I be help with Dean in doing that, just to ensure that we've got that
I think
and bringing the both parties together?
I think that's something that may need to be dealt with out of this arena because if you've declared a conflict, can't discuss. Right. Sorry, Councillor Hills.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I think this is a fantastic outcome, but I just want to put it out there that Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei Whairawa have done an amazing job here, and they want some serious outcomes. It's not often that you get a developer that wants wider community benefits from just where the land is. There's more land, more reserve space going in here. This is about getting the best outcomes. The local board is supportive. The wider community eventually will see fantastic outcomes from this, and the changes around the roading and the coastline and the way every little square metre of reserve is going to be used and made into what largely parts of it are unusable and will be usable. And we're going to see affordable housing in this area. We're going to see really good, well-constructed homes and also the community wider benefits. And I felt really, I felt we've been included too over what they're keen to see, what they're keen for the community to see, and for involving us in that. So
for my first experience in something like this, I found it's been a very well done process. So I just am really happy that this is the way forward for councillors to support.
Thank you, councillor Hills. No other comments? I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? Carried. Thank you. Good work on that. Item 16 is the reserve revocation. No, I think that's, thanks Nigel. I think this one's pretty straightforward from what I understand. It's been moved, councillor Darby, seconded.
I'll second.
Sorry, was that councillor Cooper? I don't think this, we'll take it as read. There was nothing complicated about this one. Everyone seemed to be in agreement. I'll put that. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 Against? Carried. Fantastic. And item 18 is the Regional Environment and Natural Heritage Grant Program. Now, I have checked. I stuck some stuff in the pages of those big, huge doorstops that were in the councillors' room, and those things have been unmoved. No, I'm just kidding. I didn't really, but I did have a quick flick through. I'm sure everybody's looked at them and looked at them in detail. And this was one where I had said we were going to just make sure that people had registered any issues, any conflicts that they had, and I just need to note Community Waitakere Charitable Trust is umbrellaing a request for Pestry Te Atatu, and I am actually a trustee of Community Waitakere. Oh, actually it has two. The other one is the bat tracking, and I know someone else mentioned that they had a request. So I just wondered, I mean, these are, you know, fairly long distance conflicts, but I thought just for transparency and sensibility, Mr. Deputy Mayor, would you like to just chair this from there so that I can say I am conflicted because I am part of an organisation with two requests? So do you want to just do that bit?
Any further questions for the staff? Silence, staff. Oh, Councillor Cooper.
Just quickly, so we've got about a, $62,000 decrease on last year. Is that just, and from the year before, is that a trend that we'll continue to see?
So that reflects funding which is committed through multi-year funding agreements. So in the 2016 funding round, there were a number of projects allocated money for up to 3 years. The second year of their funding comes from the 2017 budget, so there is a reduced amount to allocate this year.
So if we give multi-year funding, it takes away money from previous, okay, thank you.
Councillor Walker.
Yeah, just one issue, Madam Chair, and I've raised it before around these grants, and that's around in the reporting requirements for the possibility of some video or the like that doesn't have to be expensive, that can communicate both to us and the public of Auckland around the outcomes of a particular project.
So every project is required to submit an accountability report. For larger grants, we would expect more from that accountability with the more information provided. We don't currently prescribe what form that accountability is submitted in. However, we could work with particularly grant recipients of larger grants to see if there is something that they could explore.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I mean, I have raised this issue. Through you, Mr. Chair, I have raised this issue before. I am not suggesting anything especially expensive. With smartphone technology these days, you can put things together that are incredibly inexpensive, easy to relate to. It can go on council's website and people can see it. So I would really like to see this in the future, Mr. Chair, not just for these grants, but also for other grants. We owe it to the people of Auckland to inform them about where their money is going, but also just what it's doing on the ground, because it's great stuff. Thank you.
Comment?
Yeah, more than happy to ask the recipients to put something like that together, and for the ones that, with the larger funding that's entirely possible, we'll work with them to do that.
Thanks, Councillor Walker, it's a very good point. Measurement about these sort of grants is critical. Further comments?
KPIs.
Any concluding staff comments?
Happy to move if it's not moved yet, Mr.
Happy to
Chairman.
second if it's not seconded.
Moved by
Mr.
Councillor
Chair.
Cooper, it's seconded by Councillor Walker. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
3 carried. Thank you. Madam Chair, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Deputy Mayor. Awesome work.
It's exhausting.
On to item
Well done, Bill. Well done.
19. Also moved. This is the Wasteman Fund, and you're happy to move that, Councillor